From the time I was about 12, I wanted to be the Mayor of Orange, and I became the Mayor of Orange. Couldn't wish for a better honour. I'm an Orange boy.
Have you got any regrets?
None whatsoever. Ironic, I opposed the Library Art Gallery, even though we needed a new library, and the art gallery wasn't going to cost us much because it was part of government grants and whatever. But I went on a Saturday inspection one morning with a former councillor, alderman in those days, John Hopcraft, and we went to Spring Hill, and we were just looking at a few things in Spring Hill, and there was a young girl there with a port packed, and I said, "You're going away for the weekend?" She said, "I'm going into town to stop with one of my friends." And I said, "Do your friends come out here and stop with you?" She said, "No, I'd be too ashamed to bring them out here because we've only got pan toilets." So I said to John Hopcraft, "That's not good enough." And he said, "I agree with you." So then the Library Art Gallery came up. So I got to arguing that how can we have a Library Art Gallery when there are kids who are ashamed to bring their friends home in Lucknow and Spring Hill because they got pan toilets, and maybe we should have sewerage out there before we had the Library Art Gallery. Well, the numbers were there for the Library Art Gallery. The people had pushed for it, and I think there was three of us who were opposed to it, and we could have had a rescission motion, but we didn't. That was the way council worked in those days. The majority wanted it, of councillors, so we went ahead with it. And I said to Ross McKellar at the time, who was engineer, "It's a pity about Spring Hill, Lucknow," and he said, "Well, why don't you become the mayor and you can do both? Build a Library Art Gallery and do Spring Hill, Lucknow." And I thought, well, that's not a bad idea.
And that's what you did?
Yes, I did. And we, ironic enough, I became the mayor. Then I had to build a Library Art Gallery. I was oversee that it got built by my council. Tony Raffin said I was a Philistine, didn't know anything about art whatsoever, and I didn't, but I knew what I liked. I like landscapes, and I'd learnt a bit about art, mainly from go to art galleries and things. Now, if I go away on a holiday or something, I'll go into galleries and stuff and have a look. And more people are doing that now. That was never heard of before. People didn't do that. Lifestyles changed. My background is my father was a shearer. My mother didn't work. She was at home with us, and we lived basically a happy life, I think. But we didn't need art galleries and whatever. We weren't allowed to play golf on the golf course across the road. We used to sneak through the fence and have a game. The library too. It was badly needed. We needed an upgraded library. And then we had a man came along, John Byrne, who gave me a house full of books. And the Mary Elizabeth Byrne Library is down there. Now it's the best collection of Australian literature anywhere in this country. I had more authority. If I wanted to do it, I did it. As long as I knew I had the numbers and I had the council behind me, which I did have, then I did it. The town clerk, Bill Marshall, once saying to an engineer, "If Tim Sullivan wants Summer Street painted pink, suggest to him that maybe it's not a good idea. But if he says he wants it painted pink, you go out and buy the paint." And that's basically the way the mayor was in those days. But I had wonderful support from some excellent councillors and aldermen who were, you know, they were all aldermen, but they put their all in. We had a big committee system, and they were all good at it, and we were a team. They haven't got enough to do. You see, one of the things that was in those days, the council ran the show. They handed that over to. They brought in the general manager system, and the general manager had certain powers under the Act. But over the years, the council delegate more and more of their powers away. So they'll spend all night arguing about $1,000 when they've spent $20 million yesterday. You know, and it becomes and it gets personal. And if you're a good chairman, you don't let the personal stuff go. You stop it straight away. And I did that. Look, my background was 40 years as a psychiatric nurse. My trade is understanding human behaviour. I never went into that council chamber without knowing how a vote was going to go. And you need to do that. And the people had faith in me, and the councillors mostly had faith in me. I increased my vote every time I stood, and I never had many challenges for mayor. So, you know, I think we were doing the right thing. But I never stopped. I worked big hours. And I made a statement the other day about not listening to the people. I always listened to the people. I listened and listened and listened. I walked around through supermarkets and other places and got all the views. But in the end, I made the decision, because councillors were elected to make the decision. Well, I'd want Orange to be what it always was, a city that's growing. It needs to be vibrant. It's a cosmopolitan city, and it needs to keep going that way. And it needs the continuation of the health. That's the best thing that ever happens to us, health. It's a big industry, that new hospital out there. And I think as employment is the main thing that I'd be after all the time. And I'd be looking to say, well, what happens when the mine goes? Where are we going to go there? So you've got to continue with the tourism, the vineyards, the restaurants, encouraging people to come to Orange. I think they're on the right track with that sort of thing. Bathurst Orange Development Corporation, Bathurst Orange Blaney Development Corporation, was a mile ahead of its time. It envisaged a new city in Victoria. Now the water for that would have been a problem as well. Would have been pipelines, Ballabula River, whatever. But just imagine, with transport today, we're 30 minutes between us and Bathurst. One hospital, one library, art gallery, entertainment centre, all of it sitting there in the middle. It's because we're tribal. We've got what Orange has, Bathurst got to get. What Bathurst got, we've got to get. Bathurst got their water, Orange don't take our water, you know, and that's been going on forever. But that new city concept was a long way ahead of its time, and if people who hard it then thought about it now, Parkes and Forbes have a perfect example now. They're talking about a new hospital, and it should be in the middle. Kevin Duffy in Gabon, while we have some political affiliations, he's not wrong in saying that eastern section, when the amalgamation happened in 1979, they should have just taken what was then Canobolas Shire and given it to Orange. Forget about Boreen, Molong. They created this Gabon Shire, which is a huge thing, which they manage well, but we should have had that eastern end. It made sense, Mount Canobolas and all of that. We wouldn't be two of us talking about putting a road up Mount Canobolas. Yeah, I've had an excellent life, and all because of Orange. but Orange, I couldn't wish for a better place. And from the time I was about 12, I wanted to be the Mayor of Orange, and I became the Mayor of Orange. Couldn't wish for a better honour. I was 40 odd years as a psychiatric nurse. Couldn't have had a better profession. And I think that's I'm an Orange boy.
Have you got any regrets?
None whatsoever. Well, I do. It's the same regret that John Davis had. I'm the wrong politics. I never made the state election. I stood twice. The last time I stood, I got within a whisker. Biggest swing ever recorded out here, and never made it. And then Orange had a member in opposition for 8 years. I could never understand that. Orange has always done well when we've had a sitting member in government. We'll do well now with Andrew G. once he matures a bit, but with Charlie Cutler, Gary West and all those people, Orange always did well. We got things. And all the schools and all of those sort of things, that was Charlie Cutler and them, regardless of your politics. Bathurst has always had that little knack of swinging. Orange never swings.